The sound of disbelief swept across Atlanta before the video even hit 1 million views. A trembling voiceover, raw and full of memories, said the words no one expected to hear. Kirk told my daughter he was leaving Rasheeda after the reunion. That one sentence shattered the peace of the Frost household and reignited one of the city's most dangerous love triangles. Fans were stunned. It wasn't Jasmine this time, not a leaked DM or some club sighting. It was her mother, Miss Darlene, sitting in her modest living room with a tissue in her hand, looking straight into the camera. Behind her, a family photo sat on the shelf. Jasmine as a little girl, smiling in front of Christmas lights. I stayed quiet for years, she said, but I watched my daughter get dragged, called every name, and I can't stay silent anymore. Within hours, blogs ran wild. Jasmine's mom exposes Kirk Frost. One headline screamed. Another added, did Kirk promise a secret life with Jasmine? The timing made it worse. Came just days after Rasheeda posted a photo of her and Kirk celebrating another business milestone. Captioned forever, my partner in everything. The comments filled up fast, half defending Rasheeda, half demanding answers. Inside Frost's circle, tension boiled. Sources close to the couple claimed Rasheeda was blindsided, pacing through their Atlanta home demanding to know who had spoken to Darlene. One insider whispered that Kirk's phone had been ringing non-stop. Old friends, business partners, even his sons wanting to know what was true. It's one thing when fans talk, the insider said, but when it comes from Jasmine's own mama, that hits different. The video didn't stop there. Miss Darlene went on to describe late-night calls, unplanned visits, and what she called false promises made to a young woman who believed in love. Her voice cracked when she said, he told Jasmine, once this reunion wraps, I'm done pretending. I'm choosing you. Then she looked into the camera again and added, but you can't build a future on somebody else's heartbreak. That single line turned the internet into a battlefield. Fans took sides. Some said Miss Darlene was telling the truth and protecting her daughter. Others called it manipulation, claiming Jasmine's family was chasing relevance again. Influencers started posting reaction videos, dissecting every pause, every tear, every word. One even zoomed in on Kirk's facial expression from a recent interview, claiming he looked guilty. By nightfall, Jasmine herself broke her silence in a cryptic post. A black screen with the caption, Mama said what she said. No denial, no explanation, just confirmation that she stood by her mother. And that, more than anything, made Rasheeda snap. Neighbors claimed they heard shouting from the Frost home late that evening. One person living nearby said, I heard glass breaking. It wasn't no TV argument, they were really going at it. By morning, Kirk's car was gone. Rasheeda's ring finger was bare, and Atlanta was buzzing. Everyone had the same question. If what Jasmine's mom said was true, how long had Kirk been living a double life, and why did it take a mother's heartbreak to finally expose it? When the video of Jasmine's mom first dropped, nobody expected the storm that followed. Atlanta's gossip pages lit up like wildfire, and within hours, the entire city was whispering about the same thing, Kirk Frost's name. Fans replayed the clip again and again, zooming in on every blink, every pause, every tear. It wasn't just some random rumor this time, it was a mother.com but broken, saying she had proof that Kirk had promised to leave Rasheeda after the reunion taping. The reunion had already been a mess. People still remembered that night, lights, cameras, and tension so thick you could feel it through the screen. Kirk had looked distant, answering questions with short words while Rasheeda smiled through clenched teeth. Behind the scenes, producers whispered that something had gone wrong between them during filming. They didn't fight on camera, but everyone knew something was brewing. And now, after this video, it all made sense to people. By morning, gossip blogs had dissected every second of Miss Darlene's confession. They said her voice cracked when she mentioned the reunion, and one site claimed they could hear Jasmine crying faintly in the background. One blog even claimed to have text messages between Kirk and Jasmine, messages where he supposedly wrote, once this show wraps, we start fresh, me and you, no more hiding. Those messages spread faster than wildfire, screenshots on every timeline, even though nobody could verify where they came from. Rasheeda hadn't said a word yet, but insiders claimed she was in shock. She was seen leaving her boutique early that morning, sunglasses on, no smile, no greeting for the cameras. One worker said she kept saying under her breath, why now? Why would they do this now? The boutique closed early that day, and her team stopped posting on the store's Instagram. Meanwhile, Kirk disappeared. Fans noticed he hadn't been active on social media. Usually he would post motivational quotes or clips from his businesses. But that day, nothing. Silence. People began tracking his movements. One fan claimed to have spotted him at a gas station near Buckhead, talking to someone on the phone, looking stressed. Another said they saw him drive toward Jasmine's neighborhood, but no one could confirm. Later that night, Jasmine went live on her own page, short, shaky, and emotional. She didn't say much, only, "Everybody's talking, but I'm not here to prove anything." Mama said what she said. "I'm just tired of being quiet." Her eyes were red, her voice low. Fans flooded the comments with support, while others accused her of trying to destroy a marriage again. But the live ended abruptly when Jasmine's phone buzzed, mid-sentence. She looked at the screen, froze, and said, "Not now." Then it cut off. Minutes later, Rasheeda posted a story. Black background, white text, reading, "God reveals everything in time." That was all it took. Blogs immediately connected the dots. Rasheeda responds to Jasmine's mom's claims. One headline read, "Fans started counting how many times she had used that same quote in the past whenever a scandal hit." By the next morning, the Frost family's private life had become public again. Producers from the show reached out to both sides, asking if they'd be willing to sit down and clear the air on camera. Kirk allegedly refused, saying, "This is not for TV." But Rasheeda didn't. She reportedly told them, "If people want the truth, they'll get it from me." Back at Jasmine's place, her mother was overwhelmed. She hadn't expected her little living room confession to go this far. In one clip leaked from a neighbor, Miss Darlene was seen outside talking on the phone, saying, "They're all calling me. I didn't mean to start a war." But the damage was done. The following weekend, a popular gossip host announced she had secured an interview with Miss Darlene to set the record straight. That interview became the most watched online stream of the month. Dressed in a simple floral blouse, Darlene spoke quietly, trying to stay calm. She said, "People think I'm lying, but I was there. I saw the messages. I heard the phone calls. Kirk told my daughter he was going to leave Rasheeda after that reunion. He said he couldn't take the arguments anymore." The host asked, "So, you're saying Kirk Frost made a promise to be with Jasmine?" Darlene nodded. "That's exactly what I'm saying." When that line hit the internet, the Frost name trended again. Clips of Kirk's old interviews resurfaced, the ones where he swore he had changed, where he said his marriage was stronger than ever. Fans compared those clips to Darlene's words and flooded the comments with disbelief. "So he never stopped." One person wrote, "That man been running the same game for years." Another said, "Rasheeda deserves better. This man embarrassed her again." Meanwhile, behind closed doors, Kirk tried calling Jasmine. Insiders say she didn't pick up. He left multiple voicemails, one of which leaked days later. In the clip, a man who sounded exactly like Kirk said, "You let your mama go too far, Jas. This ain't right. You know what we talked about. I never said that." That voicemail only made things worse because people took it as proof he was panicking. Rasheeda's closest friends reportedly rallied around her, telling her to stay quiet and let it blow over. But she was angry, not just hurt, angry. During a private brunch with Yandi and Kendra, she was heard, "Shambles." He tried to deny them through a statement from his manager, calling the texts fabricated and malicious. But the fans didn't buy it. The wording, the tone, it all sounded like him. Rasheeda finally spoke again, but only through a close friend who gave an exclusive to a major entertainment site. The friend said, "She's heartbroken, but she's not surprised. She's been through this pattern before. Every time she forgives, something worse comes out. This time she's done talking, she's watching." Kirk's silence only fueled the fire. People flooded his old Instagram posts with comments like "Apologize publicly, and you embarrassed her again." He turned off his comments for the first time in years. Days later, Jasmine posted something unexpected, a quote on a plain pink background that read, "Love without truth is a lie." No caption, no hashtags. That single post reignited everything. Fans flooded her comments demanding answers. One wrote, "So it was true." Another said, "This quote sounds like a goodbye." The speculation didn't stop there. An old friend of Jasmine's came forward anonymously, claiming Kirk had been visiting Jasmine off camera for months. She said, they were seeing each other at least twice a week before the reunion. Everyone knew but kept quiet because Jasmine didn't want to lose what they had. She even claimed Jasmine had shown her jewelry Kirk had gifted her just a few weeks ago. By then, Atlanta wasn't just watching, it was obsessed. Radio hosts dedicated full segments to the Frost fallout. Podcasts started dissecting Kirk's behavior over the years. One episode titled "The Frost Cycle" gained millions of streams. It compared every scandal from the past decade, pointing out how Kirk always seemed to end up in the same mess with a different excuse. While the media tore him apart, Kirk reportedly tried to reach Jasmine's mother privately. He wanted her to retract her statement publicly. She refused. According to one insider, Darlene told him, "You had years to make things right. I'm not covering for you now." That call ended badly. Kirk was overheard shouting, "You don't know what you've done," before hanging up. Meanwhile, Rasheeda focused on her business. She began posting again, not about Kirk, but about her boutique, her skincare line, and motivational messages. Fans noticed she looked lighter, freer. One caption read, "Closure isn't always loud. Sometimes it's peace." People flooded the comments with hearts and encouragement. Kirk, however, spiraled. Old videos of him flirting on camera resurfaced, adding to the chaos. Fans compared those clips to the alleged texts and said the patterns matched. "He never changed," they wrote, "just better at hiding it." And then came the footage nobody expected, a behind-the-scenes clip from the reunion after-party showing Kirk and Jasmine in a car. They weren't doing anything inappropriate, but it looked intimate. Jasmine was leaning toward him, and Kirk's hand was on the steering wheel, his face tense. The audio was faint, but you could hear Jasmine say, "So you really gonna go home like nothing happened?" Kirk's voice replied, "I told you, I gotta handle things first." That clip destroyed whatever defense Kirk had left. It was everywhere: Twitter, TikTok, YouTube, even mainstream TV. Every entertainment page replayed it on loop. Fans reacted with disbelief, anger, and heartbreak for Rasheeda. "He promised again and lied again." One comment read, "This man can't stop." K. Michelle jumped into the conversation too, tweeting, "Some men don't deserve good women. Atlanta knows the truth." That post alone racked up 100,000 likes in an hour. Rasheeda stayed silent, but her silence became her power. While everyone else was talking, she was moving differently. Reports said she removed Kirk's name from their joint business registration and opened a new account under her own name. Kirk tried to fix the narrative by going live for the first time since the scandal broke. He started calm, saying, "Look, y'all don't know the full story," but his comments poured in calling him a liar. His tone shifted. "I ain't perfect, but I didn't make no promises like that," he said. People twisting words for clout. "I love my wife." But halfway through the live, something unexpected happened. Jasmine's name appeared in the comments with a single message: "Stop lying." Within seconds, viewers started screen recording. Kirk froze for a moment, eyes darting across the screen, then ended the live abruptly. That clip spread faster than anything else. Fans couldn't believe it. "She caught him live," they said. "That's karma in real time." The fallout was instant. Kirk's live disappeared, but the damage was done. Blogs replayed the moment frame by frame, highlighting his expression the second Jasmine's comment popped up. People described it as shock, guilt, and fear all at once. Rasheeda reportedly saw the clip minutes later. A friend of hers told a site she watched it in silence, then said, "He embarrassed himself, not me." And that was the moment fans realized the story had shifted. Rasheeda was no longer the victim in people's eyes, she was the survivor. As Kirk tried to disappear from the public eye, Jasmine finally spoke one more time. She went live late at night, sitting on her couch with dim lighting, her mother in the background. Jasmine looked tired, eyes swollen but calm. She said, "Everybody's saying I'm chasing attention. I didn't post nothing, I didn't start this, but I won't let nobody call my mama a liar." Kirk made promises. He said he was leaving Rasheeda. I believed him. And that's on me. Her mother's voice cut in softly from behind her. "Baby, tell your truth and rest." Jasmine nodded, whispering, "I just did." Then she ended the live. That final moment left everyone speechless. Fans flooded social media again, torn between sympathy and judgment. One comment read, "She admitted it with pain in her voice." Another said, "She playing victim again." Atlanta was divided. The truth was blurry, but the emotions were raw. And as the night ended, one thing was certain: whatever love, loyalty, or trust had existed between Kirk, Rasheeda, and Jasmine was gone. The story wasn't just about cheating anymore. It was about promises, power, and the cost of silence. And everyone watching knew the next move could change everything. The next few days felt like an emotional hurricane for everyone involved. Every outlet was talking about it. Every blogger had an opinion. And even people who never watched the show suddenly had a take on the Frost family scandal. The tension was everywhere, on timelines, in barbershops, at salons, even in church whispers. Kirk Frost had become the man everyone loved to hate, and Rasheeda, once again, was the woman everyone wanted to protect. Behind the scenes, Kirk was spiraling. A source close to his camp revealed he had been staying up all night trying to fix things that can't be fixed. He reportedly sent flowers to Rasheeda's boutique, dozens of them, along with a handwritten note that said, "You know my heart." She didn't respond. One employee said she had all the flowers thrown out before opening hours. She didn't even blink. The worker said, "Just told us. Get rid of that mess." Meanwhile, Jasmine had gone completely off the grid. She hadn't posted, hadn't gone live, nothing. Her mother, Miss Darlene, was still doing occasional interviews, but you could tell she was tired. In one short clip, she said, "I told my truth, but I didn't know the world would twist it into entertainment." Yet even as she said that, her words kept trending. People replayed her interviews as if they were episodes of a show. A week later, Kirk showed up unannounced at the boutique. Security cameras caught him standing outside the door, waiting for Rasheeda. She arrived with 2 assistants, saw him, and stopped. The footage showed her shaking her head, refusing to go inside. Witnesses said Kirk tried to talk to her, saying, "I just need 5 minutes." She replied, "You had 5 years." Then she got back in her car and left. That clip went viral in minutes. Fans praised her strength. Comments flooded in, saying, "Queen behavior. She's done saving him. And this is the Rasheeda we needed to see." The next day, Kirk finally released a statement of his own. He posted a long caption under a photo of himself looking somber. It read, "I've made mistakes. I've hurt people I love. And I'm learning to own that. Sometimes we fall. But God gives us the chance to rise again." But the fans weren't moved. They filled the comments with questions. Did you lie to Jasmine? Did you promise to leave Rasheeda? Why are you quoting scripture now? While Kirk's reputation crumbled, Jasmine's quietness became its own mystery. Her friends began hinting online that she was done protecting people who don't deserve it. One of them even tweeted, "If y'all knew half of what she's holding back, Atlanta would shut down." That single tweet reignited everything. People started speculating about more secrets, more hidden details, more proof of what Kirk had promised. Then came the recording. A popular gossip page dropped an audio clip late one night. In it, a man sounding exactly like Kirk was heard saying, "Once we finish this reunion, I'm handling everything. You just gotta stay down with me." The woman's voice replied, "You've said that before, Kirk." And he answered, "Nah, this time I mean it. I can't keep faking this marriage." The clip was raw, emotional, and damning. Blogs labeled it the smoking gun. Fans played it over and over, analyzing every word. Kirk's camp tried to deny it, calling it deepfake audio, but nobody believed that. The voices were too real, too distinct. One fan wrote, "That's not AI, that's guilt." Rasheeda didn't speak publicly, but people close to her said she heard the clip and sat in silence for an hour. One insider said, "She didn't cry, she didn't scream, she just went quiet." Then she said, "He finally said it out loud." The next day, she deleted every recent picture with Kirk from her page. Only old family photos remained. Fans noticed immediately. Within minutes, her comments section turned into a flood of support. "Stay strong, Queen. You deserve better. We got you." Her name started trending again, and so did Jasmine's, as Atlanta buzzed with speculation. Jasmine finally broke her silence again, but this time, it wasn't alive. She posted a series of cryptic Instagram stories, a close-up of her mother's hand, a Bible verse about truth, and a simple sentence that read, "I tried to protect everyone but me." People couldn't stop talking. Was she confirming the recording was real? Was she saying Kirk had used her? Or was it a goodbye message? No one knew, but the mystery only made it bigger. Then, in an unexpected twist, a mutual friend of all three, Yandi Smith, decided to speak. She appeared on a podcast and said, "Look, I love both of them, but I think people forget this is real life for them. Cameras don't show the whole story, but if promises were made, that's between them and God." Her comment was neutral, but fans picked it apart. "So she's saying it's true without saying it," one wrote. "If it wasn't true, she would have said that." Within a few days, Kirk's brand deals began pulling out quietly. A local car dealership removed his promotional posters. A restaurant chain paused their collaboration with him. People who once defended him started backing away. Atlanta businesses didn't want to be associated with the scandal anymore. Meanwhile, Rasheeda began posting more often, smiling, focused on her career, showing strength. She looked unbothered, but insiders claimed she was still deeply hurt. One close source said, "She's using work to cope. She's in pain, but she's not letting the world see her break." Jasmine, on the other hand, seemed to be retreating into peace. One of her last posts was a picture of a sunset with the caption, "Some storms come to clear your path." Fans flooded it with mixed emotions, some saying she was playing victim, others saying she deserved healing too. Then another twist hit. A blogger known for digging into celebrity dirt claimed to have texts between Kirk and Jasmine's mom herself. They allegedly showed Kirk begging her not to expose him before the reunion. One message read, "Please, Miss D, I'm asking as a man. Don't ruin this for me." Another said, "You know I got love for Jasmine, but this ain't the time." The messages were never verified, but the screenshots looked convincing. The font, the timestamps, even the contact name, Kirk Frost. Fans couldn't believe it. He was begging the mama now. One wrote, "This man been playing everybody." The fallout became too big to control. News outlets outside Atlanta started covering it. Even national entertainment channels ran segments about the Kirk Frost scandal, featuring clips of Jasmine's mom's interviews and Rasheeda's live responses. It was no longer just gossip, it had become a cultural talking point. And through it all, Rasheeda stayed strong. She showed up to her events, smiled for cameras, and when someone shouted, "You still with Kirk?" she laughed lightly and said, "I'm with God." That clip went viral instantly. People called it iconic. It became a meme, a quote, a symbol of her resilience. Kirk tried to reach out one last time. Sources said he sent a long email to both Rasheeda and Jasmine, apologizing for the pain caused by confusion and lies. He wrote that he never meant to hurt anyone and that he just got lost. But neither woman responded. Miss Darlene, however, did. She allegedly replied with one sentence, "Truth don't need your apology." And just when everyone thought the dust was settling, another unexpected revelation surfaced. A former production assistant from the show came forward anonymously, claiming Kirk had been telling two stories during the reunion, one to Rasheeda about rebuilding, and another to Jasmine about starting fresh. The assistant said, "He played both sides until he ran out of sides." The statement hit blogs instantly. By then, Kirk's silence wasn't protecting him anymore, it was condemning him. Fans said, "Silence is confession." Even old supporters started to fade away. The scandal had gone from explosive to historic. It wasn't just a cheating rumor anymore. It was about betrayal, family, pride, and the cost of fame. And Atlanta, always hungry for the next story, couldn't look away. Rasheeda's boutique saw a surge in support. People lined up to buy her products, to support a strong woman. Reporters tried to catch her outside, but she waved them off kindly, saying, "I'm focused on the future." Jasmine, on the other hand, stayed home. She was seen with her mother a few times, quiet, humble, trying to find normalcy again. As for Kirk, he vanished from the city's public eye. His social media went dark. His phone reportedly disconnected. Rumors spread that he left Atlanta for a while, to get his head right, but everyone knew he wasn't escaping headlines. He was escaping himself. The story had turned into something larger than gossip. It became a lesson about how promises made in private can destroy lives in public. And though everyone had moved on to the next big scandal, the echo of Jasmine's mom's words still hung heavy in Atlanta air. He said he was leaving Rasheeda after the reunion. That one sentence had rewritten everything. By the time the next week rolled around, Atlanta felt heavier. Like every corner of the city was carrying that same whisper, "What's Kirk gonna do now?" People had stopped treating it like gossip. It had turned into a full-blown saga, something bigger than reality TV. Something raw and messy that everyone could relate to in some way. Heartbreak, lies, and the silence that follows when the truth finally catches up. The story wasn't dying. It was growing. Even radio hosts who swore they'd never talk about love and hip-hop were dedicating full segments to it. Callers argued live on air, some defending Kirk, others saying Rasheeda should have left years ago. One caller said, "Men like Kirk think they can promise the moon, but Atlanta always finds out." The line went quiet for a few seconds before the host said, "Well, she's not lying." While everyone debated, Jasmine's mom, Miss Darlene, stayed quiet for the first time since her video blew up. No interviews, no lives, no statements. It was like she had said everything she needed to say. Jasmine, too, was silent. Her profile stayed untouched. No new stories, no updates. Fans noticed that and started posting comments like, "She's hiding something," or "She's healing." Nobody knew which one was true. Rasheeda, on the other hand, began moving differently. She showed up to an event in downtown Atlanta looking flawless, head high, confidence radiating through the cameras. Reporters shouted questions at her about Kirk, but she didn't flinch. She smiled, waved, and said, "It's a new season." Fans went wild. The clip hit every gossip page within minutes. They called it the calm after the storm, but Kirk wasn't calm. Insiders said he was breaking down behind the scenes. One of his closest friends told a blog, "He's not himself. He's trying to call Jasmine, but she blocked him. Rasheeda won't talk to him either. He's in limbo." That word limbo fit him perfectly. He wasn't the villain or the victim anymore, just a man watching his whole life crumble in slow motion. Then, late one night, another twist dropped. A new audio surfaced. Not as clear as the first one, but the voices were unmistakable. Kirk was heard saying, "You think I can just walk away from everything? It's not that easy." Jasmine's voice replied softly, "Then stop promising things you can't do." That clip changed everything. Fans who once felt sorry for Jasmine started realizing she might have known exactly what she was part of. The narrative shifted. People started questioning her too. So she stayed even after knowing he wouldn't leave Rasheeda. One comment said. Another replied, "Love makes you blind." Still, the focus always came back to Rasheeda. Her strength, her silence, her poise became the headline. Rasheeda wins by not saying a word. One article read, brands began reaching out to her again, offering partnerships, collaborations, anything tied to women empowerment. And then, for the first time in weeks, Rasheeda went live. Thousands joined instantly. She looked calm, sitting in her office with a cup of tea. "I see y'all been busy," she said with a faint smile. "I don't need to clear nothing up. The truth clears itself." Her words were soft, but the power behind them was sharp. She continued, "I've learned that some people talk because they're guilty, and some stay silent because they've said enough. I'm the second type." The live only lasted 6 minutes, but it broke the internet. Fans flooded her with love and support. "You handled this like a queen. Real strength. No tears, no trauma, just grace." Her live became the moment everyone remembered, the moment the narrative finally belonged to her again. Meanwhile, Kirk was losing control of his own story. New rumors started spreading, claims that he was trying to move back home, that he'd been begging Rasheeda through mutual friends to give him one last chance. One insider claimed he sent her a long text saying, "You're my world. Don't let outsiders break us." But Rasheeda didn't respond. Instead, she posted a picture of herself in the studio, captioned, "Building, not breaking." It got 500,000 likes in one day. But Atlanta wasn't done. A new interview surfaced featuring one of Kirk's former employees, who claimed he had seen Kirk and Jasmine together at least twice in the past few months. He said, they were acting real comfortable, like it wasn't their first time being alone. That interview reignited everything again. Fans started tagging Rasheeda under old clips, reminding her of times she defended Kirk publicly. "Never again," they wrote. "He showed you who he is." The whole situation started to weigh on Jasmine too. A friend close to her posted a cryptic story that said, "She's not eating, not sleeping. Y'all got no idea how deep this pain runs." People began to realize she wasn't just part of the scandal, she was trapped in it. No matter what she did, the world had already decided who she was. Then one night, Jasmine reappeared on live. Her face looked tired, her tone quiet. She said, "I know everybody got opinions, but I didn't ask to be in this story again. I believed someone who lied to both of us. And now, we all hurting." Her mother appeared behind her, placing a hand on her shoulder, whispering, "Baby, you said your truth. That's enough." Jasmine nodded, tears in her eyes, then ended the live. Within minutes, that clip flooded every feed. Fans began showing compassion again. The comments shifted from hate to heartbreak. One said, "You can hear the pain in her voice." Another wrote, "She didn't deserve this either." It was the first time people saw her as human again, not just part of Kirk's scandal. Rasheeda didn't respond, but insiders said she watched the clip. One source said, "She just sat there quiet for a long time, then said, 'That's the problem. He breaks people and walks away.'" By the next morning, Kirk made one final move. He released a long video statement, something he'd avoided until then. Sitting alone in a room, he looked straight into the camera and said, "I messed up. I hurt people I care about. I let pride ruin everything. I ain't here to defend myself. I'm here to say I'm sorry." He paused, his voice shaking slightly, then continued, "I never promised to leave nobody. I said things out of emotion. But I see how bad I messed up. I hope one day they can forgive me." Fans were divided. Some saw it as genuine. Others said it was damage control. But what stood out most was Rasheeda's reaction, or lack of one. She didn't post, didn't like, didn't acknowledge it at all. It was as if Kirk didn't exist anymore. Behind the scenes though, things were shifting. Jasmine reportedly started therapy. Rasheeda focused fully on her work and her kids. Kirk was seen leaving a local studio with bags under his eyes, looking worn down. No cameras around this time. No crew, just a man trying to stay invisible. And yet, even in silence, the story stayed alive. Blogs kept reposting old clips. Podcasts kept analyzing motives. And fans kept asking the same question: how did it get this far? How did one promise after a reunion turn into a citywide scandal? It wasn't just about love anymore. It was about betrayal, about how truth gets twisted when fame and pride get in the way. And though everyone tried to move on, Atlanta couldn't forget, because deep down, people knew this wasn't over. Not yet. A week later, a leaked email surfaced from a reality TV insider. It claimed producers were trying to get all Rasheeda, Kirk, and Jasmine to film a truth special. The email said, "The audience demands closure." Fans went wild at the idea. Some wanted to see it. Others called it exploitation. Nobody knew if it would actually happen, but the buzz alone was enough to send the city back into chaos. Through it all, Rasheeda stayed composed. One fan spotted her at a cafe, sitting alone, smiling while scrolling through her phone. When they asked if she'd ever forgive Kirk, she replied, "Forgiveness don't mean return." That sentence became a quote printed on shirts, posted across social media, turned into a movement. Women everywhere started using it as their anthem. The scandal had birthed something unintentional, a wave of empowerment. People began talking about boundaries, about choosing peace over pain. And while Kirk disappeared deeper into his silence, Rasheeda turned her heartbreak into fuel. Atlanta had witnessed the fall of a man, the breaking of a family, and the rebirth of a woman who refused to let lies define her. Yet, the one line that started it all still echoed quietly whenever her name came up. Kirk promised to leave Rasheeda after the reunion, and no matter how many times Kirk tried to rewrite his story, that sentence had already written his legacy. The silence after Kirk's apology felt strange. It wasn't peace, it was that quiet you hear before another storm hits. People stopped shouting, but they didn't stop watching. Everyone was waiting to see what Rasheeda would do next. Would she forgive him again, or finally walk away for good? Atlanta was tired of guessing, but not tired of watching. A week passed. Kirk was barely seen. No posts, no appearances, no business updates. One source said he was keeping his head down. Another said he was trying to win Rasheeda back privately. But Rasheeda wasn't interested. She had already moved into a different energy. She started posting more often, not about pain or betrayal but about growth. "When God removes you from something, don't chase it back," she wrote one morning. Fans flooded her comments with hearts and praise. "You glowing," one wrote. "He lost the best thing he ever had." But what nobody expected was the next twist. Jasmine's mom, Miss Darlene, who had gone quiet for weeks, suddenly resurfaced. She appeared in a short podcast clip, filmed in what looked like her kitchen, and said, "It's time I clear the air. I didn't say what I said to destroy anyone. I said it because Jasmine was breaking. She loved that man, and he told her things no man should say if he didn't mean them." She wiped her eyes, looked straight into the camera, and added softly, "I just wanted the truth out. But if I could go back, maybe I'd handle it differently." Her words spread like wildfire. Fans replayed the clip again and again, analyzing every pause. Some said she was apologizing. Others said she was doubling down. But one thing was clear: she had just reopened a wound everyone thought was starting to heal. Within hours, Jasmine's name was trending again. Fans began tagging her under old posts, asking her to respond. At first, she didn't. But late that night, she posted a black screen with white text that read, "Some truths hurt because they're real." No caption, no follow-up. That was enough. Atlanta exploded again. The blogs spun headlines like "Jasmine stands by her mom" and "Kirk's lies haunt him again." Kirk, still silent, was reportedly furious. An insider said he had called Jasmine multiple times, but she didn't pick up. "He's panicking," the source said. "He thought it was dying down. Now it's starting over." And it was. Another gossip outlet dropped unseen footage from a crew member's phone, showing a moment during the reunion wrap party, months earlier. The lighting was dark, the music loud, but you could clearly see Kirk and Jasmine sitting close together, whispering. At one point, Kirk's hand brushed hers, and she didn't pull away. The video was only 20 seconds long, but that was enough. The caption read, "So this the night he made those promises." The comments went wild. "He'd been lying since day one," one user wrote. Another added, "You can see the chemistry. Rasheeda deserves a medal for patience." Within an hour, the clip had over 1 million views. Meanwhile, Rasheeda stayed silent, but her silence was making her stronger. Every brand wanted her face. Every magazine wanted her story. "She's the definition of grace," one editor wrote. People started calling her the Phoenix of Atlanta. But behind closed doors, things weren't so calm. A close friend of hers said she was struggling more than she let on. "She's strong in public, but in private, she's still hurting," the friend shared. "Sometimes she just sits quiet, staring at her phone. She keeps saying, 'How many chances can one person give?'" And while she wrestled with that pain, Kirk tried to make one last move. One evening, he showed up at Rasheeda's new workspace with a single flower and a letter. She didn't let him in. The next morning, fans spotted him sitting alone in his car outside the building, head down, phone in hand. Someone recorded him, and that clip made it online too. The caption said, "He finally realizing what he lost." For the first time, public opinion shifted slightly. Some fans began to feel pity. "He looks broken," they wrote. "Maybe he really did love her." But most people weren't buying it. "Too late," others replied. "You can't love someone right after years of wrong." A few days later, Jasmine broke her silence in full. She posted a 3-minute video sitting on her couch, looking exhausted but composed. "I'm not here to start anything," she began. "I just want people to understand that when I believed him, I wasn't trying to hurt anyone. I was trying to love someone who lied to me too. I didn't ask for promises, he gave them freely." She looked off camera for a moment, took a breath, and added, "But I'm done. I'm not the same woman who cried over Kirk Frost." That line alone went viral. People shared it everywhere. "I'm not the same woman who cried over Kirk Frost" became a statement of strength for anyone who'd ever been deceived. Even fans who once hated Jasmine admitted she sounded sincere. Rasheeda saw the clip. According to a close source, she didn't react with anger. She simply nodded and said, "Good for her." That was the closest she'd ever come to acknowledging Jasmine publicly. And in a strange way, it closed something between them. But Kirk didn't see closure. He saw a collapse. His businesses began to falter. One of his sponsors released a statement saying they were parting ways for personal reasons. TV opportunities dried up. Every call he made seemed to end with rejection. One insider said, "He's realizing too late that his name don't hold weight no more. He used to be the man everyone wanted around. Now, he's the story everyone avoids." And then, another bomb dropped. A reporter uncovered text messages allegedly sent by Kirk's manager to a network producer during the reunion taping. The messages hinted that Kirk had been emotionally distracted and that personal issues were spilling onto the set. It wasn't confirmation of the affair, but it added fuel to the fire. Fans used it as proof that Kirk's promises weren't made in the dark, they were made while cameras rolled. Atlanta was buzzing again. Memes, edits, parodies, everyone was talking. Kirk's face was everywhere, but never in a good way. Even local comedians started making jokes about after the reunion promises. It had turned into cultural shorthand for empty words. Still, Rasheeda didn't engage. She started traveling more, meeting with brands, doing panels about business and resilience. One interviewer asked her, "Do you think forgiveness is possible?" She smiled slightly and said, "Forgiveness is easy when you stop expecting change." That line broke the internet again. Fans called her a poet in pain. As the chaos cooled, Jasmine's mother gave one last interview, her final word on the matter. "I said what I said, and I stand by it," she told a reporter, "but I pray for them. All of them. No one wins in pain." She looked tired, older somehow, but at peace. Fans respected her for it. Even Rasheeda supporters admitted she wasn't lying, just speaking from a mother's heartbreak. Meanwhile, Kirk was seen at church one Sunday morning, sitting in the back row with his head bowed. The pastor's sermon that day was about repentance. Someone filmed him, quietly mouthing along to the prayer. That clip hit the internet too, but this time, the comments were softer. "Maybe he's learning," someone wrote. "God gives everyone a chance to start again." And maybe he was learning, but Atlanta wasn't forgiving. Not yet. His mistakes had become too public, his promises too empty. Rasheeda, now thriving, posted one last message that people took as closure. It read, "You can't control who breaks you, but you can control who gets to rebuild you. I'm choosing me this time." It was elegant, final, and powerful. The comments under it were full of love, pride, and admiration. Even Jasmine's mother liked the post quietly, without saying a word. Fans noticed and called it a full-circle moment. After that, things began to fade. The headlines slowed, the posts stopped, and Atlanta finally exhaled. Kirk stayed quiet. Jasmine disappeared from the spotlight again. Rasheeda glowed brighter than ever. But still, that original sentence from Miss Darlene's mouth would never be forgotten. It was the match that lit an entire city on fire. Kirk promised to leave Rasheeda after the reunion. That promise, broken in silence, had changed everything, and no matter how many months passed, fans still whispered it every time his name came up, proof that in Atlanta, secrets don't stay buried, and love never dies quietly. As summer stretched over Atlanta, the story that once burned like fire started to cool, but its smoke lingered everywhere. You couldn't walk through a salon, a cafe, or even a grocery store without hearing someone say his name, Kirk. It had stopped being just a scandal. It had become a cautionary tale. The Frost family name still carried weight, but not the kind Kirk once bragged about. Rasheeda had rebuilt her image into something untouchable, elegant, focused, a woman who rose every time someone tried to bury her. Every post she made turned into motivation. She'd smile into the camera and say things like, "Keep working through your storms," and the comments would flood with hearts and fire emojis. Fans didn't see her as a reality star anymore, they saw her as a symbol of survival. But for Kirk, survival meant something else. The world that once followed him now avoided him. He stopped showing up to public places, stopped calling friends who'd stopped answering months ago. His businesses kept running, but quietly, without his face attached. His silence had become his only strategy. Rumors floated that he was trying to start therapy, maybe even writing a book about accountability, but nobody believed it yet. Atlanta had heard enough of his promises. Every time someone mentioned his name, that same sentence came up like a ghost. He said he'd leave Rasheeda after the reunion. It was the lie that wouldn't die. Jasmine, on the other hand, had learned to live in the shadows again. Her page turned into a quiet diary, soft pictures of skies, candles, coffee cups. Her captions sounded reflective, not bitter. One of them read, "Some lessons break you before they build you." Fans commented things like, "She's healing, and growth looks good on her." Her mother, Miss Darlene, stayed out of the spotlight completely. No interviews, no lives, no comments. She'd done what she came to do, tell the truth, even if it burned everything around her. Sometimes the price of honesty is peace, and she seemed ready to pay it. Then, one night, something unexpected happened. A fan spotted Rasheeda and Jasmine at the same charity event in Midtown. No cameras, no drama, just two women standing across the room from each other. The fan said it was quiet, tense for a moment, until Jasmine walked over. They didn't hug, but they nodded just once, and that was it. No words, no scene. Just understanding. By morning, everyone was talking about it. Rasheeda and Jasmine seen in the same room, no tension. The blog screamed. Fans called it the peace moment. One commenter said, "That's what maturity looks like." Another added, "The pain didn't win this time. Kirk wasn't there, and maybe that was for the best." His chapter in their story had already ended, even if he hadn't accepted it yet. A few days later, he posted a single image, an open Bible, and the caption, "Change takes time." It didn't trend, it didn't go viral, it didn't even get much engagement. For once, nobody cared what he had to say. Rasheeda, meanwhile, kept rising. Her boutique expanded into a new location. She launched a mentorship program for young women, helping them build independence and self-worth. People said her heartbreak turned her into an empire. Interviews called her the woman who turned pain into profit. And every time someone brought up Kirk, she'd just smile and say, "I'm grateful for everything that taught me to love myself better." For Jasmine, healing came slower but real. She was seen out more often, smiling with friends, shopping with her mom, living quietly. One clip showed her saying, "I'm not running from my past no more. I faced it." And in that short clip, people could finally see the weight lifting off her shoulders. Still, the internet never forgot. Every few months, someone would repost the old video of Miss Darlene saying, "Kirk promised to leave Rasheeda after the reunion." And every time, the comments would fill up again, new fans discovering it, old ones remembering. It had become one of those infamous love and hip-hop legends, part truth, part myth, part warning. Producers even tried to bring all three back together for a final tell-all episode, but Rasheeda declined. She said, "Some stories don't need revisiting. They already told themselves." Jasmine agreed quietly through a post that read, "I've said all I need to say." Kirk, predictably, stayed silent. In Atlanta's nightlife, though, whispers carried further than headlines. People said Kirk had been spotted out alone sometimes, sitting in a corner booth, sipping on something, scrolling through old pictures, maybe trying to remember the days when his name brought applause instead of judgment. One bartender claimed he overheard Kirk mumble to himself, "I lost everything trying to have everything." Whether it was true or not, it sounded exactly like something he would say. Months later, the city moved on. New scandals took over, new faces, new betrayals. But this one lingered differently. It wasn't just a story, it had become part of Atlanta's pop culture. Something people quoted when warning friends about men who made empty promises. And somewhere deep in that quiet aftermath, Kirk finally showed up at church again. The same one he'd been filmed in months earlier. He sat in the same back row, wearing the same expression. The sermon that day was about redemption. The pastor said, "You can't erase your past, but you can learn to walk through it." Kirk nodded slowly, eyes closed. For once, maybe he was listening. Rasheeda didn't need to listen anymore. She had moved on. Her energy was different now, lighter, freer. She started posting less about pain and more about joy, family dinners, vacations, laughter. She wasn't proving anything anymore. She had already won, just by surviving the fire that tried to burn her down. And Jasmine, she was finally smiling again, genuinely. One last clip surfaced of her during a podcast appearance, laughing when asked about closure. She said, "Closure ain't something they give you, it's something you decide to have." Fans flooded her comments again with love, calling it her redemption arc. When asked privately if she'd ever forgive Kirk, she answered simply, "I already did, I just won't forget." And that was it, the end of the scandal, but not the end of the lesson. Atlanta had seen love, betrayal, pain, and growth play out in real time. It had seen a woman rise, another heal, and a man finally face himself. And though the city would move on to the next headline, that one sentence would forever echo in its history. Whispered like a secret through the years, Kirk promised to leave Rasheeda after the reunion. And in that broken promise, a whole new era began. Months passed, but Atlanta never forgot. The scandal might have quieted on the surface, yet every time Kirk or Rasheeda's name appeared online, that shadow followed. It became part of their story, stitched into the city's rhythm like an old wound that healed but never fully disappeared. Rasheeda moved with quiet confidence now. She wasn't trying to prove strength anymore, she simply was strong. Her mornings started with work calls and brand meetings, not tears or phone arguments. The Frost home had new energy, lighter, calmer, almost sacred. She'd replaced old photos with new ones, moments that showed peace instead of pain. She didn't erase Kirk's memory, she just stopped centering her life around it. And though Kirk's presence still lingered, it was more like background noise now. He lived quietly, kept his distance, and watched from afar as Rasheeda rebuilt the empire they once shared. Friends said he looked smaller, somehow, not physically, but in spirit. The man who used to fill every room with his voice now barely spoke above a whisper. Sometimes, late at night, Kirk would still call her number. He knew she wouldn't answer, but the habit was hard to break. One voicemail leaked weeks later, never meant for public ears. His voice was tired, softer than fans remembered. "I know you'll probably delete this," he said, "but I just wanted to say thank you for holding me down even when I didn't deserve it. I hope you find peace even if it's without me." That voicemail spread quietly, reshared on blogs not as scandal, but as sadness. Even people who once mocked him admitted it sounded sincere. Rasheeda never acknowledged the voicemail publicly, but sources close to her said she heard it and deleted it without listening twice. She was past the point of sympathy. "I wish him well," she said once to a friend, "but I'm done playing chapters that already ended." Meanwhile, Jasmine's life was slowly transforming. She started volunteering with a local women's organization, helping single mothers with housing and career advice. Fans didn't know about it at first. It wasn't for show. It was something she did quietly, away from the cameras, away from her past. One organizer posted a photo months later, thanking her for her time. She looked peaceful, in jeans and a t-shirt, smiling with other women who'd been through hard seasons too. People online began to change their tune. The hate softened. "She looks happy," one commenter said. "Maybe she's finally free." Another wrote, "Everyone deserves a second chance, even the messy ones." Her mother, Miss Darlene, often joined her at community events. The two women had become closer than ever, their bond rebuilt through everything they'd endured. One clip showed them laughing at a fundraiser, Jasmine teasing her mom about being the most famous mama in Atlanta. Darlene laughed and said, "I didn't mean to go viral, baby, I just told the truth." It was a rare moment of light after so much darkness. Then, unexpectedly, Kirk made a public appearance. He attended a local charity basketball game, his first event in almost a year. The crowd's reaction was mixed. Some cheered, some booed. Most just watched silently. He smiled awkwardly, waved, and stayed quiet. One fan who attended said, "He looked nervous, but humble, like a man trying to earn his way back into life." After the game, a reporter asked him if he'd spoken to Rasheeda lately. He shook his head. "Nah," he said, "she doing her thing. I'm proud of her." It wasn't dramatic or emotional, just honest. And that short sentence was enough to make headlines again. Kirk Frost praises Rasheeda for the first time since Scandal. For the first time, the city didn't react with hate. People started saying maybe growth was possible, even for Kirk Frost. Maybe not redemption in love, but redemption as a man. Weeks later, Kirk quietly opened a small studio on the South Side. Not flashy, not publicized, just a modest space for young artists. He said it was about building something good again. One local producer who worked there said Kirk came early every morning, stayed late, and never brought up the past. He's quiet now, the producer said. He listens more than he talks. The world didn't suddenly forgive him, but it stopped throwing stones. Forgiveness, like everything in Atlanta, took its time. Rasheeda's life, meanwhile, only kept shining. Her boutique turned into a full-scale brand franchise. She began hosting panels around the country talking about resilience, reinvention, and how to rebuild after betrayal. Her story became something women quoted when talking about strength. One fan stood up at an event and said, "You made me leave a man who kept breaking me." Rasheeda smiled, nodded slowly, and replied, "Good. Sometimes leaving is the only way to love yourself, right?" That moment went viral too, not for drama, but for truth. She had turned her pain into purpose, and Atlanta respected her for it. Still, every story has echoes, and one night those echoes returned. A new network producer leaked that there were talks of filming a Behind the Truth special bringing Kirk, Rasheeda, Jasmine, and Miss Darlene together one last time to clear the record. Fans went wild, debating if it would ever happen. Half begged for closure. Half said, let them rest. Rasheeda refused at first. Jasmine stayed silent. Kirk, oddly enough, said he'd do it if they wanted to talk, not fight. Producers never confirmed anything, but whispers spread that a secret meeting did happen off camera, somewhere private. People close to them said it wasn't dramatic. No shouting, no tears, just conversation. Kirk apologized again, this time faced. Jasmine accepted it quietly. Rasheeda listened but said little. At the end, she reportedly stood up, shook his hand, and said, "You can't rewrite what happened, but you can live better after it." That was it. No reunion special, no cameras, just closure in the real world. After that, all three seemed lighter. Kirk started mentoring young men about accountability. Jasmine focused on her advocacy work. Rasheeda expanded her brand and took her family on vacation to Jamaica, her first real getaway in years. She posted a picture of herself on the beach, eyes closed, sunlight on her face, captioned, "Peace looks good on me." That post broke the internet not because it was dramatic, but because it was final. Yet still, late-night podcasts, TikToks, and fan pages kept the legend alive. The quote that started it all, Kirk promised to leave Rasheeda after the reunion, became something bigger than gossip. It became shorthand for false promises everywhere. You'd hear it used as a joke when people caught someone lying. "Don't Kirk frost me," they'd say, laughing. Atlanta humor never misses. But beneath the laughter, there was understanding. That story had mirrored something real for everyone: trust broken, lessons learned, and the quiet dignity of moving on. 1 year later, a documentary team released a short film about fame and forgiveness in reality TV. It didn't name names, but everyone knew who it was about. The film ended with a voiceover saying, "Some truths break families, but they also build new beginnings." It showed a montage of Atlanta streets, flashing lights, smiling faces, and finally, Rasheeda walking through her store, waving to customers. The camera lingered on her hand, no ring, no sadness, just grace. The film closed with Jasmine walking through a community center, laughing with children, her mother nearby. And then, in a quiet final shot, Kirk standing alone in his studio, watching a group of young artists record a song. The lyrics faintly played in the background. "Sometimes we learn too late, but at least we learn." The internet wept. Not out of pity, but out of recognition. It wasn't just a story anymore, it was a cycle people had seen in their own lives, reflected through fame, heartbreak, and second chances. After that, Atlanta moved on, but gentler this time. No more firestorms, no more hate threads. People began speaking about the Frost story like an old fable, tragic, human, unforgettable. Rasheeda thrived, Jasmine healed, Kirk redeemed himself quietly. Even Miss Darlene, once the spark of chaos, found her peace. She started a podcast about truth and faith, opening her first episode by saying, "You can tell the truth without tearing people down." Fans loved her honesty. She'd gone from scandal's mouthpiece to its conscience. And still, every so often, that old clip would resurface, her sitting in her living room, holding a tissue, saying the words that changed everything. "Kirk told my daughter he was leaving Rasheeda after the reunion." The camera had caught a mother's pain, not her anger. Years later, people finally saw that. In interviews, Rasheeda was often asked what she'd learned from everything. She'd smile and say, "Never confuse love with loyalty. Love forgives. loyalty protects. It became her mantra, her message to every woman watching. And Kirk, he kept his distance from the spotlight. No more public apologies, no more posts. He poured himself into work, his studio, his faith. The people who still saw him said he was calmer, softer, no longer trying to control the narrative. One friend said, he finally, living, not performing. Atlanta, ever hungry for gossip, found peace in the stillness. This wasn't the kind of ending people expected, but it was the one everyone needed. No explosions, no betrayal, just time doing what time does best, healing. Years later, when younger fans stumbled upon the old videos, they'd ask, who was Kirk Frost again? And older ones would shake their heads, smile, and say, child, that man was the reason Atlanta learned what accountability looks like. And though everyone's life had gone in different directions, that single story remained a mirror showing that even the loudest chaos eventually fades, but truth always stays. Because in the end, it wasn't just about Kirk's promise. It was about what happened after the rebuilding, the grace, the evolution, and that was Atlanta's real love story. Now listen, because this is where you come in. This story, every rumor, every heartbreak, every moment caught on camera wasn't just entertainment. It was a lesson about truth, timing, and how fragile loyalty really is when fame and emotion collide. Kirk, Frost, Rasheeda, Jasmine, and Miss Darlene didn't just give Atlanta drama, they gave it reflection. They showed what happens when promises made in whispers echo louder than anyone expects. So, ask yourself, if you were in Rasheeda's place, could you forgive? If you were Jasmine, would you still believe love's words after they turned into headlines? And if you were Kirk, would you have confessed sooner? Or kept pretending peace existed while chaos grew behind the scenes? Because that's what this story leaves behind. Questions that don't fade when the cameras stop rolling. Fans around the world are still divided. Some say Kirk's apology came too late. Others say he finally faced himself. And there are those who believe Rasheeda's silence was the loudest statement of all. Which side are you on? People forget that every scandal has more than one truth. Jasmine's mother didn't break the internet by accident, she broke a cycle. She reminded everyone that the truth doesn't care about timing, status, or how uncomfortable it makes you. It just waits, patient, until someone finally speaks it. And when she did, everything changed. Marriages cracked, careers shook, fans picked sides, and Atlanta held its breath. But what made it unforgettable wasn't the shouting or the tears, it was the aftermath. It was the strength of two women who refused to let lies define them. So here's what I want you to do right now. Think about who you are in this story. Are you the one telling the truth? The one denying it? Or the one pretending not to hear it? Because for every viewer watching, this wasn't just about Kirk or Rasheeda or Jasmine. It was about how fast love can turn to silence, and how silence can become a weapon when you stop using your voice. And now, the conversation is yours. Drop your thoughts below. Do you think Kirk ever meant those words? Do you think Rasheeda should have forgiven him more, left sooner? Was Jasmine wrong to believe, or just human for hoping? Tell us in the comments whose side are you on. And don't forget, this is just the beginning. The Frost family's story may have faded from the headlines, but Atlanta never sleeps for long. More secrets, more revelations, more untold truths are always waiting under those city lights. So hit that like button if you've been following from the start. Subscribe to stay locked in for the next chapter of love, lies, and Atlanta life, because you already know. When it comes to this city, the truth never stays buried. Turn on those notifications so you don't miss a single drop. Because the next story might be bigger than anything you've heard yet. And trust me, you won't believe who's talking next. Until then, keep your eyes open, your heart guarded, and your mind ready, because Atlanta's not done speaking. And if you think this was the end of Kirk Frost's story, think again.